I don't know. It's interesting because I was looking at some photos of my younger self, and it was an interesting moment to look at them and go, who was that person? Because that's not the person I am now.
Mm.
So, and I guess that would be my last comment is appreciate that we're all growing and changing, and that we're not who we were yesterday.
In June 2019, I took to the road to ask people from all over the country about their dreams. I thought I would be learning about them, but I'm also learning about myself. Join me and see what you find out about yourself as you listen to other people answer the 3 dream questions. This is Joellen, and she's agreed to answer the 3 dream questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. First question is about your dreams and your hopes and aspirations for right now or maybe even into the future.
My personal aspiration is really to see all of the 50 states in the U.S. and I've been to 47 of them, and so I'd like to finish going to the last 3. So that's something on a personal thing. On a broader sense, I would like to. I feel like I've been called to do some action with climate change, and I feel like I have a role to play in doing something, and that's in inspiring and educating people to take action and create political will for making change about climate change. So, of course, that starts with one person, and so I've been doing my part in the last I've been doing my part. More recently, I just had my house weatherized and doing some things like that.
So you're doing it on a personal level. And
right.
You want to do an education and
exactly.
Information.
And I'm involved with a few groups, the local energy committee in my town, and also Citizens Climate Lobby. So that's creating political will on the federal level. So I feel like I'm kind of an instrument, and I need to do what I can, and feel optimistic about what's going on, which sometimes can be a challenge.
Is if there were something that you could change, maybe in the collective will or in the world, or I often say if you had a magic wand and you were a big giant and you could touch the world, what would be sounds like climate change might be in there, but
absolutely, and awakening to realizing that we're all connected. I mean, that to me, I guess it's the connectedness of human beings and animals and the earth, and that's what my wish would be, is that people would wake up to acknowledging the connectedness and that we have a responsibility for stewardship for others and for plants and for animals and the earth.
I just came from Maine, and there was a little family, and they were doing all kinds of gardening and stuff, and they were talking about how they take their children out into the garden and they look at the little bugs and they look at the different things, and they're not always excited about some of the bugs, but that connectedness, they feel like that for their little children to come up with that awareness that they're connected to the plants, and they've created this little spirit. It seems like it would be hard to do on a global scale.
Of course, yeah. But that's my wish.
People,
you asked about if
there
was a wand.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. There it is, yeah. Okay, do you remember when you were a little girl some of the things you wanted to do?
Not really. It's interesting. I think I didn't have very many dreams or aspirations. I was more, I want to say go with the flow, but it was more, I almost want to say directionless. I mean, it's like, if I made a decision, then I just went with that, and then just didn't have big dreams.
When did your dreams start to materialize? When did you start having goals? As a teenager, as a 20s?
Probably in college, I think. My horizons started being broadened. I was fortunate, though, in high school. I was able to go on, I grew up outside of Boston, and I was able to go to Newport, Rhode Island when I was in high school as part of a group. And going different places raised my awareness. My mother traveled with me and my cousins and some aunts to Ireland when I was 5 years old. Oh. So I got to see a different culture, and I think those experiences really pushed me to understand that there's more than my little world and my little neighborhood.
Yeah, a lot of us grow up in bubbles.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And some of us
of
stay
our own
in
creation,
them.
And some of it of our culture's creation. Yeah.
Right. And some stay there, and that's their choice. I choose not to.
Perfect. Okay, here's the last question. Then if you could go back and whisper in your 13-year-old ear, if you could go back to the 13-year-old Joellen and whisper something in her ear, you want her to know something. And, or what would you tell 13-year-olds or adolescents or people just starting out?
Trust yourself. And be confident in who you are. And trust yourself and go for it. I think I wish I had done that. I wish somebody had encouraged me to be stronger about who I am.
That's beautiful. I've got people, some of the other people have said things like that. I want to explore that just a little bit more with you, because sometimes we're in these bubbles, and the bubbles give us our identity, and you're going to Ireland probably gave you another sense of identity. I don't know if a 5-year-old picks up, but you had that sense of identity. How do you differentiate from what society is telling you are and what you tell yourself that you are?
Good question, especially at that age, that age meaning like teens.
Yeah.
Because I think that's when you get, I know I was, and I think youth in general are very influenced by their peers. And so they make decisions based on others' opinions. And that's part of what I meant about trust your own instincts.
I'm hearing that there's something maybe going on inside of us that some people would say that they're inside of us. We know the answers inside of us. We just have to use the world to help us discover the things that we already know. I don't know if is that anything what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's kind of that there is an inner knowing. At least I like to think there really is.
Yeah.
But I also can appreciate that a 10-year-old wouldn't necessarily, because they're still growing. But maybe a 15-year-old would have a better sense of who they are and just have more self-confidence.
Thank you. Is there anything else that comes up to you? I mean, we've been talking a little bit about goals, the world,
right.
Climate change, our younger selves.
I don't know. It's interesting because I was looking at some photos of my younger self, and it was an interesting moment to look at them and go, who was that person? Because that's not the person I am now. So, and I guess that would be my last comment, is appreciate that we're all growing and changing, and that we're not who we were yesterday or 4 days ago or last week.
And sometimes as teenagers or as kids, we think the way things are right now is the way they're always going to be.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.